This podcast is made possible by you, the supporters of WPLN and WNXP, Nashville Public Radio.
This is the Nashvillager Podcast. It's June 26th, 2025. On this day in 1974, the first grocery store UPC barcode was scanned at a checkout. It happened with a pack of chewing gum in a supermarket in Ohio, and it revolutionized how products are handled. But you don't need a UPC, and we won't even make you scan a QR code to get today's news from this podcast. I'm Tony Gonzalez, in for Nina Cardona, and this is your daily digest of what's happening around Middle Tennessee from Nashville Public Radio, WPLN News. In just a few minutes, we'll hear an excerpt from the culminating episode of The Country in Our Hearts. That's the special 4-part podcast delving deep into Nashville's Kurdish community and how it came to be. That's coming up after the newscast. Here's the latest from WPLN News. A federal judge in Nashville has ordered Kilmar Abrego Garcia, the man the government mistakenly deported to a prison in El Salvador, be released from jail until his trial on federal charges. WPLN's Mariana Bacallao reports that ICE stood by during yesterday's hearing in anticipation of Abrego Garcia's release.
The big question was whether Abrego Garcia would be taken into ICE custody after the hearing. I saw a few Department of Homeland Security vehicles parked outside the courthouse before the hearing began. There were a few agents standing by outside. But the judge has delayed his release by a few days, although a U.S. Marshal told me that ICE will likely just take him into custody whenever he's officially released.
The judge has asked federal prosecutors to work with ICE to make sure Abrego Garcia can make future court dates, but prosecutors say they can't control what ICE does and that it's possible he may be deported before his trial. Meanwhile, a teenager arrested by ICE is back in Bowling Green, Kentucky after being released from a federal detention center in Louisiana. Ernesto Manuel Andres was welcomed home last night by roughly 100 people during a celebration at the Turanga Academy, where he recently graduated high school. The legal team representing Manuel Andres posted bond the night before after Department of Homeland Security officials failed to file a petition by a deadline set by the judge who ordered the teen's release. He was arrested earlier this month by ICE agents in Bowling Green. Attorneys for Manuel Andres say he holds special immigrant status that allows him to be in the U.S. legally. Fuji's family, the nonprofit that represents him, said he will remain free as long as he attends his court hearings. Multiple rallies with hundreds of attendees have been held in Bowling Green, calling for his release. Local agencies that serve older adults are preparing for potential federal budget cuts by Congress. $1 trillion in cuts is expected for programs like Medicaid and SNAP, also known as food stamps, while Social Security and Medicare, which are benefits paid by workers, don't seem to be directly targeted. Many retirees are still worried, and there could be indirect impacts on retirement benefits. On our daily show, This is Nashville, Michelle Johnson with the Tennessee Justice Center explained what could happen, and Kariz Davis, a financial counselor with AgeWell's Reset program, gave advice for concerned retirees.
It would absolutely blow a hole in our safety net, not just for people who rely on the safety net, but it would also blow a hole in our economy and in our healthcare infrastructure. So Tennessee would lose 9 hospitals. And when those hospitals close, they don't just close to people who need Medicaid or TennCare or Medicare. They close to everyone.
You do not have to start pulling Social Security when you retire. So if you decide to retire at 63, if you have other type of investments, you can live off of those once you get to that point where you need to pull Social Security. Wait till then, because once you get to that age of 70, your amount that you will start receiving is a lot more than it is at 62.
That conversation is part of our monthly series, Next Age. You can listen to the full episode on our website or wherever you get your podcasts. A child drowned Tuesday on Percy Priest Lake in Nashville. The incident occurred before sunset near the Hamilton Creek Recreation Center as a family was swimming together. The victim is identified as 5-year-old Tobias Hennick. Police say he went underwater for several minutes and could not be revived by CPR by family members or paramedics. Drowning is the leading cause of death for Tennessee kids aged 1 through 4, according to the State Department of Health, and the annual drowning rate for Tennessee kids under 17 outpaces the national average, some years doubling it. A Nashville man whose murder conviction was overturned could be sent back to prison anyway. Thomas Clardy was released in October of 2023 after a federal district judge ruled that the evidence was exceedingly weak. WSMV reports there was just one eyewitness who did not come forward until a month after a shooting. Before his release, Clardy had spent 17 years in prison. The Sixth Circuit Court disagreed with the federal judge who overturned the conviction and reversed that ruling. And in January, the U.S. Supreme Court declined to take up the case. Now the Circuit Court has made a motion for Clardy to return to prison. Supporters recently gathered for a prayer vigil at Corinthian Baptist Church in North Nashville wearing shirts that said, "Justice for Thomas." His lawyers have petitioned Governor Bill Lee for clemency or exoneration. On Sunday, Big Frida, the Queen of New Orleans bounce, will headline Nashville Pride. Her set will include the kinetic, bass-heavy, booty-shaking numbers she's known for, but she'll also mix in a type of music that revelers at the festival might not expect, her version of gospel. Frida's Nashville-based collaborator, Parson James, says he was surprised when he learned that was the direction she wanted to take with her new music. But during their sessions, James found that Frida wanted to apply traditional gospel language to her longtime messages of unconditional welcome and acceptance. He just wishes he could be at the festival to see Frida take pride to church.
My hope is that people can receive it and see how unique it is for an artist like Big Frida to be doing something like this, and then find some pieces of themselves in all of it.
On our website today, you can hear a full interview with Parson James by our senior music writer, Julie Height. We have another 2 days of a heat advisory in effect. Today's high will be around 98 degrees. There's a chance of showers and thunderstorms after 3. Another chance of rain on Friday in the midday, and slightly cooler by a couple of degrees. You'll find more news anytime at WPLN.org. As I mentioned earlier, the fourth and final episode of Nashville Public Radio's new series, The Country in Our Hearts, is out today. This series tells the story of Nashville's Kurdish community, including a new wave of asylum seekers coming from Turkey, where Kurds are a persecuted minority. In this episode, WPLN's Rose Gilbert meets one of these families who fled Turkey after being targeted by a nationalist hate group. The family's father, Jegar, says he tried to go to the Turkish police for help, but was turned away.
After he was turned away by police, Jegar filed a complaint with a human rights organization. But that didn't feel like much protection. The noose was tightening, and he needed to get out of Turkey now.
We were a very wealthy family helping the Kurdish cause, and we left everything behind, all our factories or businesses. And my brother did the same thing as well. We all left.
Jegar went first. He booked a flight from Istanbul to Mexico. From there, he crossed the border into Texas, where he surrendered to Border Patrol. He says he was surprised by how well Border Patrol officers treated them, compared to his family's experience with the GOH in Turkey.
They were very compassionate with us. They saw that we have children. They were very kind to our children. Overall, they were very nice to us.
Jegar was held in detention for about a month. During that time, he applied for asylum in the United States. After being released from custody with a work permit and a far-off court date, Jegar decided to move to Nashville. He'd done some research before he left Turkey and knew it was a Kurdish hub. A few months later, his wife and children followed the same journey, from Istanbul to Mexico and across the southern border on foot into the United States. They arrived right around Nowruz, the Kurdish New Year that marks the beginning of spring. A time for rebirth and renewal, an auspicious time for Jegar and his family to begin a new life in America, together.
My first thoughts were we are in the United States where the human rights are protected. We know that the United States is the best democracy in the world, and we know, I knew that they will protect my family's right, my human rights.
The American immigration process is famously slow going. In the meantime, they built a life in Nashville. They moved into a new house, they enrolled their kids in school, and they had a new baby. The first U.S. citizen in the family. Jegar found work delivering pizzas, a far cry from the life he had as a successful businessman back in Turkey.
You know, in Turkey, I had a factory. I had a lot of employees working for me, under me. But when I came here, I was by myself, so I had to work for my family myself.
It was all worth it, though, he tells me, to be able to support his family. and to know they don't have to worry about the JOH or the Grey Wolves or the Nationalist Movement Party, that they can live freely.
Having the feeling and the thought that the government is not behind me, chasing after me or trying to get me, and having a feeling of safety in the United States helped me a lot.
Still, the rules have changed since Jigar and his family arrived in the U.S. Not long after this interview, I learned that another Kurdish family I had spoken to had been denied asylum and were going to be forced to return to Turkey. Jigar and his family's asylum hearings aren't until next year, meaning that the feeling of safety they've found here is now in jeopardy.
You can now listen to all 4 episodes of The Country in Our Hearts at WPLN.org/Kurdistan or wherever you get your podcasts. We do this roundup of Nashville news every weekday, so subscribe in your favorite podcasting app to make sure you never miss an episode. And if you like this, you'll probably enjoy the Nashvillager email newsletter as well. You'll get perspective from more of my colleagues at Nashville Public Radio and links to the stories that we're following. Sign up for those daily emails at WPLN.org/Nashvillager. Thanks for listening and for caring about our community.